Kubor ka Batisi TV. Lawan rasipi da ka umsingam beats aqua na molai moro hakajingdap sunsnem jongka. Rengkat ka 3 Olives Restaurant M Crown Hotel Kendailat Shillong bat ka Orange Nissan Loan So Po Shillong. One bantiet ya ka kali Datsun Ready Go bathamai ka bas kem bat bidor.
Watlah ke sorkar jela kadana pedang ke jinghiran Pisa ke pejur. Henry Menteri Rangba jong ke jela u Conrad ke Sangma pat ulah kop ba ke sorkar kan sepelut adu shipau ne khatsan Klur tengka nak benta ban penlong ya ke nong ba Jowai kum ke smart town. Habai keren bat gila pathai kubor u Conrad ke Sangma ulai thu ba ke sorkar kala perkhat ban kintie gisnong hapok ke jela dak bawan ra dak ke smart town kenang ban pen bahai gisurok ki badan hapok ke snong. Ula ong shushu ba ya ke bamenta yakni ke project smart town on pentrikam shwa tang hanong ba Jowai ban hakasor tura ya ke bala Mang ban pelut kumba shipau ne khatsan Klur tengka kenang ban pen bha ya ki lenti ki singkien ki jaka penlang nyot bat kumta terter halor ke jing persyang de ki katu kat ningun ki beriau ya ke jing pen kerja no ke PWD Jowai North Division Shangpung u Chief Minister ula ong ba ka roi kapar kamdei ban kieu tang hagi jaka balongsor Henry Wat Shekithan nong kandong ru.
Overall functioning also has to be from the practical point of view. Now, if you look at the overall jurisdiction of this particular division, it covers the jurisdiction of Raliang constituency and of Mapayo constituency. So, not even 1 kilometer comes in the area of Jowai and other constituencies. So, it is being done from a very practical point of view. The engineers need to be closer to the place where the work is going on. So, it is done from that point of view. And the point is that every section of the state needs to see some growth. So I think Shampung also deserves growth. So therefore, when the office in the jurisdiction of this division is over Shangpung, that is Raliang area and Mokayo, I think it is a logical decision to shift it in the sense that the jurisdiction and the overall monitoring of the projects will be much better out there. And you will also see that the economic growth and the development will go to rural areas of Gente Hills also, which I think is absolutely necessary. So it's really a balancing act that we're trying to do. We're trying to balance the system and growth so that everything is not, in the sense that the overall development aspect is not pushed out here alone, but the jurisdiction of the offices which are meant for that location are in that location so that the engineers can do better work, can monitor the roads in a better manner, can go down to the grassroots level and ensure that the overall quality of the roads is good. So I think it's being done from that aspect. And once we see this officer shift, there will be economic impact in those areas also. And when we see the secretariat and the mini secretariat coming here, we'll have economic impact here also. So it's really trying to ensure that there is a balanced approach to everything and there's a balanced growth throughout the region, throughout the district. There's no doubt about the fact that the state requires a lot of things to happen, and the district also requires a lot of things to happen. And these are challenges that the state has faced since the inception of the state. So it's not that a government will come in and will be able to resolve every single issue in one go. But then the process has started, and you will see that the investments are being made in the right areas. If you look at the different water problems that you're seeing, we have in fact invested huge in water connection throughout the state. The water connection for just coming back from Rimbai, we have invested in entire the Rimbai. The pipes had been lying for 20 years, 15 years out there without any work being done. As soon as the government came in, we realized that these are investments that have been made and are lying unutilized. Let us start activating it. We searched for funds, we pumped in money, and the work for the Rimbai project started. Like that, for example, the Nongstoin water supply project. We have moved in that area also. Tura water supply also we have moved. In Jowai also significant work is being done. But of course, as I said, everything cannot be changed in one day. So that's like you said about water supply. Similarly, if you look at education, I think in the last 2.5 years, the maximum amount of reforms have taken place in education in terms of the policies that we have put in. And now in this year itself, you will see that the maximum amount of infrastructural investment will be made in education like never before. So the colleges which we provincialized in 2008, no building infrastructure was created. For 12 years, these colleges functioned without buildings. When we came in now, we have sanctioned 36 crores for these buildings, for the new buildings for these colleges. We have over 2,500 LP schools in our state. and 70% of these schools don't have buildings. We made up my mind as soon as we came in that we're going to start making LP schools. We have started with extension of building extension for almost about 200 to 300 LP schools already finished in the past 2 years. We're going to make provisions for 200 plus schools with a budget of 100 crores this year and another 100 crores next year and 100 crores the year after that. So we'll be seeing about 600 to 700 LP schools getting brand new buildings in the state out here. So like this, you're seeing that there's huge investment and a lot of economic changes taking place in the grassroots level throughout the state. So can we change everything in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? Maybe not. But I think you clearly see that we are moving in a very positive direction, and a lot of investment has already gone in, and more investment will be made in the state. For the first time, if you look in the state, we have got externally aided projects which were never there before in this large scale. We are most probably the highest number of EAPs has been given to Meghalaya state, 13 in number, whereas other states, some of them are at zero. These have brought in amounts close to almost 5,000 crores that are being invested in different departments, different sectors like water conservation, like road connectivity to the World Bank project, like the tourism EAP for the from the New Development Bank, like the Mega Lamp project that's going on. So on and so forth. There are many EAP projects going on. So yes, there are challenges, and everything cannot be resolved in a year or 2 years time, or even 5 years time. But significant improvement has taken place, and a huge amount of investment is taking place, and a lot of changes can be seen in most of the sectors in the state, which of course sadly has been there because of many past governments also, which brought in projects which were not being they were not able to complete. But let me tell you that we have taken upon ourselves to ensure that we will be able to improve the overall projects also. I'll just give example. Like there were these residential schools that were started by the last government, and they invested some 20, 30 crores, and then the projects just came to a halt because there was no fund. But then we took up those projects again, and now you'll be happy to know that we'll be sanctioning close to 25 crores to ensure that those schools, at least the building part, not the residential part, but those buildings of the schools will be completed. So you're right, there are a lot of pending projects. Rimbai water supply scheme, which I talked about just a few minutes back. There was projects that were just lying like this, but we ensured that those projects which have achieved a certain level of physical completion are just investments made but not being utilized properly. So we decided we're going to pick them up. So we are doing, it's not that we are not doing those projects, we are doing those also, but at the same time, we feel very strongly that there has to be a complete change in the way we do our governance. We feel that people, I got a call just about a month back, somebody telling me that he had to wait for 5 months and he still hasn't got his caste certificate. I don't think that's the governance and that's the delivery of services. So that's why we came up with this act to ensure that the services are delivered within a specific time period. This mini secretariat and this district secretariat will help us make that even better. The way we'll be able to deliver the service will be much faster, and it's being done in the interest of overall governance. So yes, it's a project that's very important, and I think people will see the difference when it comes and how it will improve the overall services and the delivery of services to the grassroots people. And then internally within the mini secretariat or the district secretariat, the system when the files would move, so that the people would then have to just simply come after 1 month and take the documents and go away. So that is really what the long term goal is, because it is not about the physical infrastructure alone, it's about the internal soft part also, which is the system also has to be integrated. So we are starting with the system where we're going to integrate the offices, and then we will go with the integration of the system also. So that's really what the long-term goal is, and that's why we feel that it will help deliver more efficient services to the people in the long run. So this is a challenge that the state has faced for a very long time. We have had many incidences where the work from Assam side would start, and then Meghalaya would complain, and Meghalaya would say the work should stop. Sometimes then from Assam side, the Meghalaya side work would start, and then Assam would complain, and then say Assam say we should stop. So this kind of a situation has been happening in many locations, and this has been one of the reasons why we have had different instances and situations where there have been some uh, kind of inconvenience that has been caused in those locations, and some kind of aggression also has come out. So this has been there in the past. So we have then further asked the deputy commissioners then to talk, because in the last protocols that were set between the chief ministers was to ensure that the development should not be affected, and then there should be status quo maintained, and any kind of discussion should take place between the deputy commissioners to resolve any kind of misunderstanding. But obviously, being a complicated situation, the misunderstandings are there. So therefore, when Assam side also works, there's complaint from Meghalaya sometimes, and when Meghalaya also works, there is complaint from Assam side also sometimes. So these instances have been happening, but time and again we have tried to resolve it. In some cases, we were able to get the parties together and resolve it. In some cases, it's taking more time. So that's the situation. Not be able to tell you specifically what's the stand of this particular road that you're talking about, because I don't have the information with me right now. But in general, that's the situation that we face. Yeah, we in fact had I had already written to the Honorable Chief Minister of Assam in the month of March, April. I can't remember the exact date of this year, seeking for a meeting, and after, of course, verbal conversation and confirmation from him, and we were both very much prepared to meet. But sadly, we had the COVID-19 coronavirus struck, and therefore that meeting could not take place. Before that, also, there had been many telephonic conversations that both of us have had, because there were different issues that were coming up. And we had, in fact, verbally also decided that we'll meet up in the month of September. But I can't recall right now why. That was last year. Why we couldn't meet. And then after that, we followed it up in March to meet up around April. But then, as I said, COVID struck that time. So that's the reason why we were not able to meet. But in spite of that, the chief secretaries have met once in the past, recently, and the deputy commissioners and the chief secretaries are in constant touch with each other whenever any kind of situation that is there in the border areas, whichever part it may be, has happened. So we have been trying, but because of circumstances, we were not able to meet. I think it's not going to be about the services in Shillong that you're talking about. We're talking about services within the overall district. So when a person requires the services within a district, it is much easier, and the efficiency of the working system improves when the concerned departments are very much within the vicinity. A lot of people, for example, coming here would require NOCs from multiple departments. So instead of them having to go from one office and waiting in line, and going to another office and waiting in line, and going to a third office and waiting in line out there, it would be much more easier and much more efficient when all these offices would be under one roof. So hopefully, as time moves forward, we will be able to then make it easier for the citizen to come in and maybe have a single window system, where the person will just have to apply at one point, and the departments will internally then move the processes being under the same roof, and be able to make it much easier for the citizen to get the ultimate services, which might require the intervention of many departments. So that's really what the long-term plan is. So we see, like, for example, now it comes to, just to give you a small example, when it comes to getting different permissions for having the crushers and different kind of boulders and all these things, mines, people have to apply to PWD, have to apply to forest department, have to apply to mining department, then have to apply to the pollution board. And so therefore sometimes in a place like